Hello, this is part of our student series and I'd like to introduce the lovely Louise. She's a Heartwood student and you've been at the clinic doing your clinical hours. Is this your fourth or fifth time?
I think it's the fifth time because you're my most local, but yeah, I love it here.
And she loves it here.
I do love it here.
Not just because we're the most local.
I do love it here because you never quite know who's going to turn up, which is great. And it's always busy. Yes. And it's always very varied, which I absolutely love.
It is very varied. And I think that's the real plus about having the apothecary, because you get to see the patients face to face, but you also get the walk-ins, which can be, you can learn a lot from the walk-ins.
Oh, loads from the walk-ins, because you never quite know what they're going to ask and you're getting some real... And you have to think on your feet. What I love about the walk-ins, it's a really good practice for just... okay, I've got a rash on my skin, or I'm having trouble, and just straight away you haven't got time to flick through your book, and I think it's really good. And what I really like about that is it shows you're learning as well. So the first time I was here and a walk-in came in, I'm like, oh, going to the back of the shop, but now I feel much more confident being able to give some useful, helpful advice.
Fantastic, and that's exactly what we want.
Yes.
And you're an oldie but goodie, because you've been here I think it might even be five times.
I think it might even be 5 times, yeah.
So what made you decide to train with Heartwood?
I think with Heartwood particularly was the flexibility. I think what I really liked was the ability to do the foundation course first, because I've always been, because of sort of my health history and having sort of functional illnesses, I was always drawn to more natural medicine, and I think I came to see you as a patient and it worked brilliantly. But I didn't know if I wanted to commit to 3 years, both time and financially. It was lovely to be able to just do the foundation course and really sort of test it out. Mm-hmm. And that would have been enough for some people, but once I'd done that, I really had the bug then. And just seeing what a difference it's made to me and to my life and my health, actually. So I took the plunge and did the professional course.
Wow. And how are you finding the course?
I found when I was still working part-time, doing the course full-time was, I found it quite challenging, so I switched to part-time in the second year. But sometimes it could be a little bit overwhelming. There are odd moments, but mostly it's just been fascinating, actually. There's a lot to learn. I think sometimes it can be a bit of a lonely journey, but that's why I think it's so great coming to clinic, because especially here where there's often other students, because sometimes, being online and being at home, you can sort of not feel part of the group, but then coming into clinic and spending time with other students and doing the clinical examination workshops, it's great because you can bounce ideas off of each other, and also just realise that you're not on your own sometimes when things get a little bit more difficult. But overall it's been really enjoyable, really varied. We cover such a broad range of subjects. It's not just the conditions and the herbs. There's a whole other, running the business, the counselling aspect, how to listen to people, all those sorts of areas that you sort of wouldn't really think about would be included, but of course are absolutely essential to the job.
So what's been your least favourite part of the course?
Oh, I think the part I found the hardest was it was the pharmacophagy, all the constituents, the chemical constituents. Because there's just so much to learn. They've got really long names, so I think that was probably the area that I was like, ooh, and probably feel the least sort of confident in. But I mean, it's doable, and I'm getting there. And I think because we cover it in the first year, it's sort of a bit theoretical. But of course now we're getting along our journey, like, this is what's happening for, and the steroidal happening, blah, blah. So now it's being applied, it makes much more sense than just sort of learning it theoretically. But yeah, it's probably still the area that I would be least confident in. But
and what's your favourite part of the course?
My favourite part of the course is actually being in clinic, and I'm not just going to say that, but it is because you're actually seeing it in practice. You're with real people with real lives, really struggling with some health conditions that can be quite debilitating, and listening to their stories and knowing that just the way we listen to them and how we can help them is what we're doing it for. So this is the icing on the cake for me. I love the studying, I love reading, I actually love writing essays as well because I'm a bit sad, but this being here and seeing it in action is for me is hands down the best part.
And you have a background in academia, so Louise is very academic. You're very into the research, and you also have a penchant for purchasing quite a lot of herbal books.
I do. I have a little bit of a problem
with an issue with every time she comes to clinic, she's showing me a new book.
But I love it. I do, and I think the research is obviously important. The big sort of clinical style research is obviously very important as well, but I'm very much interested, and I hope when I get into practice to do a lot of case study, my own research, because I think we need to build up. There's lots and lots of knowledge in people's heads from practice, and actually getting it down sort of in a structured manner, I think it's going to be really, really helpful. So I'm looking forward to doing that. I hope I've got the time, but I will incorporate that into my practice, I think, because I think it's a really important aspect of the profession and moving the profession forward and professionalising it and having that good quality. We're never going to be able to do big, we're not going to get the money to do big randomised control tests, but really good quality long-term case studies I really do have a place, and I think it's going to be hopefully an important part of my work as well.
Were you surprised at how in-depth the herbal medicine programme is?
Oh, hugely. You know, it's not just learning about, you know, you've got the conditions themselves, not just how they present, but this is the person with Parkinson's and these are the symptoms you're going to look for. It's thinking about the etiology of those, you know, what has led them. So I think that's a really important part of our role, which is probably different from conventional medicine, isn't it? That we're really looking at, okay, what's causing this downstream, rather than just treating maybe the symptoms initially to get them feeling better. So that's been, it's fascinating, but it adds an extra layer. And of course, then you have all of the herbs themselves. And then you've got the actions, and then you've got to learn what are the chemical constituents of those actions, and then how you would use them together. So I think it is a lot of information. It's a lot of information. And I sometimes think, I'm never going to remember it all. But then you realise that you do, and it's just repetition, being in clinic, seeing it on the shelf, what you're using it for, and it just...
And how do you think, because you've come from a very academic background into herbal medicine, how have your ex-colleagues and friends sort of reacted? Because it's a big change. I mean, if you don't mind telling us what your sort of work history was prior to.
So, yeah, I was a university lecturer in linguistics. So I worked at the Institute of Education in Reading. So, yeah, supervising PhD students working on big educational research projects. But it just sort of wasn't doing it for me anymore. There was, education's a funny place to work these days. Some of them high-fived me. Some of them thought I was completely mad, because it's sort of, you work, that's the sort of career that you work a long time for, you know, PhDs for 4 years, building up to that. But many of them are actually really fascinated. It's a real mixed bag. I mean, some people think I'm just turned into a mad witch. she's hit perimenopause, she's gone crazy. But actually, I think what it's done as well, some of my ex-colleagues, I think it's made them think, well, she's doing it, knowing how well they sort of know me, and how I've always been sort of very evidence-based as well, you know, that's my background, that it sort of made people think that some of the people I know that there's got to be something in it.
Yeah. Because
they know sort of how my mind works and what I think about things. So it's been quite a mixed reaction.
Well, maybe this might pique the interest of somebody who's watching, you know, that you can do the Heartwood course mainly online. Yes. You are expected to do 500 clinical hours with a herbalist, but you can do some online. Yeah, you can do it in person. So it's much more accessible than doing it when I did it, which was at university.
And that was the key for me, because I've got 3 children as well that I started. They were still all at home. So it was a case of I didn't want to just leave my career. You know, I phased out, and I sort of still am a little bit as well. So it was that flexibility of being able to part-time, full-time, online, some in-person aspects of it was absolutely crucial. And I think had it been, I had to go to a university and do it at a university, you know, there weren't any close to me, it would have stopped me from pursuing this career, which would have been a real shame.
Would you recommend the Heartwood program to others?
Oh, absolutely. I would say start with the foundation, because I think it's such a good grounding, you know, it makes the first year much easier. I think it could be a very quick ramp up, but I think even if the foundation, you might then just decide to stop there, and then you think, oh, I want to take this on as a career, then the professional course it's great. Yeah, I would definitely recommend it, and just for the flexibility
Well,
and the
thank
depth
you.
and variety as well. It's absolutely, yeah, it's a lot to take on, but it's really enjoyable.
Thank you.
Thank
Well,
you.
thank you to Louise. As I say, she's been here many times, and she did actually start as a patient of mine.
did.
So that makes me feel just amazing that piqued your interest into herbal medicine, because of course it's just so effective.
It is. It really is.
This is where it's at, people. So if you do have an interest in herbal medicine, or you know somebody who's interested in perhaps learning herbal medicine, please do like and share this video. Subscribe if you would like to hear more videos like this. Should have a playlist with student herb blogs. I try and get most of the students that come to talk about their experience, because all the students have such a varied backgrounds, ages, sexes. It's a really mixed bag. So it really is open for everyone. Incredibly inclusive. It's not just females. We did have a male this week, but unfortunately he's not here today. So it really is open to everybody. So please do like and share this video with anyone you think may be interested. And hopefully we'll see you again soon. Oh, and the Power of Plant Festival is in July.
Yes.
It's in July. It's in Stroud.
Yes.
If you go to the National Institute of Medical Herbalists website, nimh.org, I'll try and remember to put a link below. You don't have to be a herbalist to attend the festival. It's a 3-day event, and you can camp. It's on a 42-acre site, which is beautiful, and there will be lectures from amazing herbalists, including myself, at the festival. So do, if you're interested, look out for that. Thank you very much.